Hello, and welcome to Color Commentary. I'm TJ, your average fan, and I'll be talking to you today about Marvel's latest entry into their MCU, Thor: Love and Thunder. First off, I want to give my overall thoughts about the movie before I start talking spoilers. So, if I had to give this movie a rating, I think I would give it an 8. 8, yep, that's it. It's a solid movie. It's got the trio of comedy, drama, and action. And I think that it was very, how do I describe it? Speedy. This movie was fast. A lot happened in this movie. And yet, I still felt like things were missing. You know, like there were important parts that were left somewhere. And I don't know if that was intentional or what, but it did leave me wanting other things that I could have did without some other stuff that they did do, and we'll get to that in spoilers. But I felt like it was colorful. It was, it had a lot going on. I enjoyed all of the things that you see from the trailers, like when they go to the place wherever it is that is devoid of color. That was cool. The thing also in the trailers that they showed you is these goats. Oh, the screaming goats. Man, oh man, they're hilarious. But it still felt like, there wasn't enough. Like, it was like, what's happening? Why are we on a train that's like full speed ahead and you can't slow down? You gotta stop. Wait a minute. Let me live in this moment for a second. And understand what I'm being told and what's being said, and even in some scenes, let me look around a little bit, pan the camera, do something, yeah, that's why I would give this movie an 8. So that I can be a bit more forthcoming, let's just get into it. Spoilers! Okay, still here? Thor: Love and Thunder. Yeah, I like Thor. Do I think this movie was better than Ragnarok? No. If I had to rate Ragnarok, it would probably be a 9. I did enjoy that movie a lot better. And I think it's because we spent time in singular places. We were everywhere in this movie. In Ragnarok, we were on Asgard for a moment. Then we went to Sakaar for a moment. And we got some stuff done there. Then we left there and went to another setting back at Asgard when it got blew up. Here we were on Earth. We were on some planet with the Guardians. We were in what's called Omnipotent City. We were in New Asgard. We were back on Earth again. Then we were in the Dark Shadow Dimension. Then we were gone to wherever eternity, lived and dwelled. It was like we were everywhere. We were everywhere. I could tell you one thing I didn't like, and I felt like this was their way of shortening the movie in a way, was the exposition from Korg. Korg and his storytelling. I get it, he was telling the story to kids, whatever, but I could have dealt without that. Show me what you're talking about. Show me these classic Thor adventures that you keep bringing up. We start this movie with him talking to some kids, Korg that is, about Thor and what he's been up to, and we get the montage that you also see in the trailers about him working out and getting back in shape, going from fat bod to God bod, and and all of that kind of stuff. And I'm like, okay, that's nice. Thor destroyed this temple that he was trying to help these people on this planet. And and in return they gave him screaming goats. So the Guardians were like really thrilled about that. Screaming goats on the ship. Who wants that? But these goats are hilarious. I love them. These at first, the first couple of times when you first meet the goats, it's funny. Then after that, it's like, okay, shut the goats up. But then after that, it's like, okay, they have a reason to scream at this point. At this point, they're just hilarious. I loved it every time they screamed. It was funny. After a pep talk, from Starman, Peter gave him a little pep talk about, finding out who you are, and which is what he called himself trying to do. He was like, I'm just waiting for people ask me for help. And the people did. That's how he ended up destroying their temple and saving their life. And then he also found out about gods being slaughtered. And then on the Guardian ship, they started getting distress calls from all over the galaxy about different gods being slaughtered. So that, made him want to go and investigate, because Sif also was in one of these distress calls. Yes, Lady Sif was back. I liked her outfit too, the red and the white, and she looked good, even though we didn't really get to see her fight. By the time he gets to her with Korg, Guardians went off on to investigate the other distress calls, and he went to go find out what happened to Sif. So that's when she done lost the arm and all of that. So he take her back to New Asgard. So here we are back on New Asgard, where Valkyrie is king, and she making new international relations with the nations of the world. She done turned New Asgard into a tourist attraction, and a tourist destination, I should say, not an attraction. And they building up and everything looking good and everything, and then we get to visit while we're here. Jane is in the hospital. Her friend that's always with her, the one they call the Hammer, Mew 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 Mew. She was there. Found out about her cancer. She's doing chemotherapy, and in her research, because she's trying to figure out a way for herself, with human science, how to cure herself, and it's not working out. But then she sees the Bifrost on one of the books that she has in her office, and then she decides to go to New Asgard. She's like, let me try something else. So then she goes there, and she's doing the tour thing, and she's visiting the broken pieces of Mjolnir, and it starts to move and glow, and then they cut away, and then I'm like, but wait, let me see the hammer reform. Let me see what it does to her. Let me see her transform into the mighty Thor. Let me see something, but then we don't. We leave from that, Mind you, the movie actually didn't start off with the Guardians and Thor. It started off with Gorr traveling with his child through the desert, his daughter, praying to the gods, their gods anyway, to try to help them. The planet looks destitute and terrible. Daughter dies. He then is all sad and morose, sees an oasis, so he goes there, and lo and behold, it's his god sitting in an oasis, chilling with water and greenery and food and fruit and everything. And then the god had the audacity to get pissed that he was wallowing in his water and eating his food. And then he talking to the god, and the god like, I ain't worried about y'all, saying, yeah, ain't nobody else left right now to worship us, but there'll be some more people after y'all, and we'll be good. Screw that. I'm not helping y'all. We just got done. We're here celebrating, waiting, because we just killed this other thing that was shadow creature that had the Necro sword, apparently a god-killing sword. And this god apparently had stopped this thing from using it. So then, because Gorr renounced the god in his face, the god got mad and started trying to choke him up, which was kind of sad. It was. So then the sword is calling out to Gorr, and then he grabs it, stabs, and kills the god that his people was praying to. And that starts him on his mission to find the center of the universe and get to eternity. I keep wanting to say infinity. Eternity, and destroy all the gods. That's apparently all this sword wants to do. I wonder who's talking through the sword. Why is it alive and sentient or whatever? That's a story in and of itself. We'll probably get another time. But that sets him off. Then, like I said, Jane, got the hammer. We don't know what's going on with that. But his next thing he does that they show us is him going to New Asgard, where he releases shadow demons, and that's where Sif also told Thor that Gore was on his way to, because she had just got done fighting him. And so he pops up, and they're fighting shadow demons, and Valkyrie is helping out, and then who shows up but the mighty Thor? And he all confused about Mjolnir being back and why it's not listening to him. And then he finds out that it's Jane, and then they have a little talk a little bit about how long it's been and yada, yada, yada. I'm like, okay, and one thing that made me question some stuff was like, when he asked Valkyrie, he was like, who is that? Who's this new hero? And then she was like, oh, you're going to love this new hero. So she knows that Jane has the hammer, has been the mighty Thor, clearly been doing stuff, like why we didn't see any of that. We should have seen Jane doing some stuff on Earth, in New Asgard even, anything. We should have seen the transformation. Why we didn't see any of that? So that's like missing pieces of stuff. But we got this ridiculousness with the Guardians on this planet and a montage of bullcrap at the beginning. I would have rather seen that. That's something I could... Really? But okay, I'm supposed to care about Jane, even though I've seen her do nothing. Alright. Not to mention that she, after the fight, was talking about this was her first bad guy. And I'm like, so what have you been doing? Have you been doing anything? I don't know what's happening here with that. That was a bit confusing. So, bad part on the writers on that one. You didn't flesh out that part of the story. It was important, especially if y'all wanted me to care about it. So yeah, they have a meeting. In the end, pursuing all of this, Gore steals the kids. So all the kids from New Asgard got stolen because Gore wants Stormbreaker, because Stormbreaker opens the Bifrost, and the Bifrost is what's needed to get to eternity. So there you have the through line of what's happening. Now, one of these kids happens to be Heimdall's kid with his eyeballs, and he does a vision walk and talks to Thor, shows them where they at. That's how they figure out they're in the Shadowlands. Valkyrie like, well, he walking through shadows, creating shadow monsters. If we go to the Shadowlands, it's a trap. We need a plan. So they decide to go to Omnipotent City, where the gods are having a godhead meeting, all the gods in the universe. And they go there, and it's gods for everything under the sun. That's another place. So I'm like, we should have spent some time here. We should have did some walking around. And you could tell that this one was very, very green screeny here. And so, even their path they were walking and stuff like that, you can't really look around because it's not really there. So that kind of sucked. So, those are things that take points away from the movie for me. I'm like, I can see right through you. And this ain't it. Y'all naming gods here and there, but nothing of importance, nothing that would matter to people that's been following the MCU all this time. I mean, this is your 29th movie, for Christ's sake. Oh yeah, the God of Carpentry. Supposing that was supposed to have been Christ. Anyway, they're there. They're excited because Zeus is heading the Godhead, and he's swirling around his little lightning bolt, thunderbolt. I'm sorry, that's what it's called. He got offended because it wasn't called the right name. Russell Crowe with a terrible accent and being silly. No. I don't know what that's all about, but I wasn't feeling it. Even though post-credit scene at the end, he calls in Hercules because Thor threw the thing through his chest and killed him. Well, he thought he killed him, and that they escaped Omnipotent City because they were supposed to stay there because Zeus didn't want Gore to know where they were. If you leave, he could use you, find out where we are. No good. You stay here. And of course, Thor wasn't having it. Neither was anybody else. Valkyrie and Korg. Zeus zapped Korg through the thunderbolt through him, and now he's just ahead. And so he's talking to Valkyrie later on in the movie, talking about how his fathers, made him, and that he hopes to find love one day, And by the end of it all, at the end of the movie, he does. He finds another one of him. I forget exactly what. And then it made me mad because I'm like, yeah, that's the Godhead. He's there, Korg, and then his God is there, sitting on a throne of scissors. And in this ensuing fight that was happening while they were there, why didn't he say nothing, involve himself, anything? None of the guys did anything while they escaped. So apparently all the guys gonna be mad at Thor for this. Whatever. Hercules was cool. Nice to see him being brought in. Whatever. I could have cared less about that. The other post-credit scene, while I'm at it, was Jane getting into Valhalla. And Heimdall greeting her. Hey, how you doing? Welcome. Nice to see ya. Come on in. Let's have some fun. And so I'm wondering what they're going to do with that, because that's like a way of not really killing her off, even though at the end she died helping Thor stop Gore, breaking the sword, the Necro sword. It broke. She gathered up the pieces in Mjolnir that collected them, and then she smashed it, and then, yeah. It was done for. So the corruption that was going on in Gore at the time was over. I'm going to be skipping all through this movie because that's how the movie made you feel. You got to skip all through it. Too many things were happening here. It's very annoying. So, yeah. Also, while they were doing that part, they were in this big chamber thing. You see all these statues. Thor shows up because they got their behinds beat in the shadow realm on this planet, where they had to fight him, and that's when Jane figured out that he wanted Stormbreaker. Stormbreaker was the key to opening the Bifrost to get to eternity. And yeah, they fought, they lost, and he snatched Stormbreaker from him, and that's how he ended up with it, because they were using the Bifrost to get away. And that's how they ended up back in New Asgard. So now we're back in New Asgard again, and Jane's in the hospital because the cancer is like really getting worse, because every time she uses the hammer, chemo goes away, and then she puts it down, cancer comes back twice as hard. So every time she uses it, she's getting worse. And so she had made a deal with Thor. I wasn't going to use it no more. That was the last time. We do love each other. We're going to try to work this out. But she showed up anyway to help him, because she was going to fight to the very end, and she wanted to help save those children. To which, when Thor showed up at the place, he shared his power for a limited time with the kids. And that was hilarious. The kids fighting, that was so funny. Especially the little girl with the bunny. That was so freaking funny. I loved it. The kids was empowered. They fought back. And then once he freed Stormbreaker, threw it back to Heimdall's kid, Axel. And he got him up out of there. So they ended up back in New Asgard. Yay, kids are saved. But if you notice in all of this, there wasn't a whole lot of in between. I went from basically the beginning to basically the end of the movie, because that's how quickly they just zap through stuff. A lot of random jokes about different things that had nothing to really do with the story. Making Thor seem like he was a freaking idiot when he's not. Where's the growth all these years of Thor? And we got Gore making the wish to not kill all the guys in the universe, but to bring his daughter back, because he saw that Thor was all about the love, and he wasn't concerned about you. You made it here, you did your thing, I don't care. Jane's about to die, I'd rather spend the time with her. And so he wished for his daughter back, who's named Love. Henceforth the name of the movie, Love and Thunder. I'm like, oh wow, okay. How subtle. That was Love and Thunder. This is why I gave it an 8, because I mean it was a good movie, but yet don't feel like nothing really happened. It was kind of like Doctor Strange. Like, it was a good movie, but what happened again? Like, what did we do? I don't know. But yeah, that was pretty much the movie. Now he running around with a daughter, adopted daughter, because he had, and she called him Uncle Thor, and she got cosmic powers from eternity, because she was born of eternity, and she's running around with Stormbreaker, and they out doing things in the galaxy, helping people wherever they may need help. The thing the gods in Omnipotent City were not doing. Yeah. So when Zeus was in the post-credits, he told me some, where did we go wrong? Maybe you went wrong by not actually answering the people's prayers in the first place. How about that? Why didn't you do that? Yeah, they're going to turn to the people that's actually showing up versus the ones that we call on and they come when they feel like it, or if it's convenient for them, or if they're getting something out of it. These guys are sacrificing everything to help us, and they're not getting anything in return. Yeah, we're gonna look for them instead of y'all. It only makes sense. How he didn't understand that as a god. Arrogance maybe? A little too much? Yeah. Anyway, that was Thor, Love and Thunder. Decent movie. Enjoyable. I would watch it again. Definitely, I would. Probably again before I would watch Doctor Strange, to be honest. Yeah. So, hope you guys enjoyed this review about this weird, kooky movie. And see you again for another one. Have a great day.